there'd be a lot of poop in my pants. I've seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Oh, Mothman.
Oh yeah, Mothman.
A great white shark was stolen.
Oh, someone stole a shark?
I got stuff for you don't even know about.
She's a witch. She turned me into a newt.
Who knows? Anything could be possible. Anything could be possible.
It's really big abduction vibes.
Holy moly.
It sounds like you were abducted.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
The way you sit in chairs.
I don't know.
Chairs, everybody. I said chairs.
I need 3.
You got 2. Hey guys, welcome back to the Corn Podcast. I'm the great and powerful Mr. E.
And I am your favorite J clone, 27. This is my favorite model of mine, 27.
Favorite model, huh?
Yes.
All right, so before we get rock and rolling into today's awesome, well-requested subject,
Ooh.
I just wanted to take a moment because we haven't done this in a long time, or ever.
What's that?
Just welcome new listeners.
Oh, yes. If you're just now joining us.
Because we've had thousands of you the last couple of weeks, probably. Like, we had some big spikes.
Yeah.
So, welcome. We're Cryptids of Corn Podcast. We like to say we're a scientific and magical thing combined. Hopefully you enjoy the show. I have a background in biology, and Clone J Master here has a background in all things conspiratorial.
And the new tagline I kind of created over, I think, past couple conferences, Mr. E will tell you the facts, but old J will tell you the truth.
Yes, that'll probably be a t-shirt here soon. So welcome. Thank you guys for joining. We have tons and tons of backlog. We have an amazing Patreon with all kinds of cool stuff. We do 2 things a month in there, extra content.
We're building our cult up, our corn cult.
We do a lot of cult stuff in the corn.
Yeah, the corn cult and the Patreon. So
I just want to take a minute and just welcome everybody in.
Welcome all our new listeners.
I was just thinking about that because I listen to a bunch of podcasts and they do it every probably once a month in an episode.
Yeah.
They say, welcome. I'm thinking we've never done that.
Yeah. We're just we're a train that's going to keep rolling. And if you're not going to jump aboard, you're going to get steamrolled by us.
Wow, we're threatening to do people. Wow. Jeez, right off the rip.
Steamrolled in a loving way, though.
Steamrolled in a loving way.
Yes.
All right.
So join us.
Into today's topic is the Uncanny Valley.
The Uncanny Valley, huh?
So this is something that gets used a lot. You hear these words thrown around a lot, Uncanny Valley. And we've used it a lot on our show. We've said it. We may have given a brief description, but we're going to go into a lot of it today.
Why isn't it called the Uncanny Gully? It doesn't roll off the tongue.
I'm going to tell you why it's called a valley, but you made me laugh. Because it's not a place.
I know.
And I've even heard some paranormal podcasts think about it like a place.
Like it's a spot.
It's not. It's not. And you even said it right before we got on here, the Headless Valley.
Yeah, that's what made me think of. The Uncanny Holler.
Uncanny Holler.
It's probably already something, I'm sure.
It probably is. That's probably just, never mind. I about said something inappropriate.
No.
Anyways, we're going to talk about genetic fears. So that's what we're going to get into first. So humans have genetic fears. And what that means is not all people are disposed to this, but most people at least start out with these fears.
They're just baked into your DNA.
Yes, because you've either, most scientists believe we've lost enough humans to these things that it's just something that's a natural warning system.
Generational trauma.
It is.
Yeah.
So the big one is spiders. Generally, humans, and I'm not scared of spiders, but I'm not going to just randomly pick up spiders.
Right.
I'm very slow.
Not Jimmy.
I'm very slow, and spiders are very fast.
Oh, dang it. I forgot. I wanted to give a shout out. Remember we talked about before the show started, but it's too late now. I'll get it later.
You sure?
Should I do it now real quick?
Let me finish this little segment.
All right. We'll just keep moving forward. Let's just power
We'll
through
just
this
have to
episode.
do it the next episode.
Yep.
Anyways, spiders. This first genetic fear. Most spiders, Almost all spiders are venomous. Most spiders' venom doesn't affect us, but the ones that do tend to be very rough.
Brown recluse.
Yeah.
Black widows.
Brown recluses are in this house.
Great.
I've seen several.
Makes me feel just comfortable.
I've never been bit by one. Grandma got bit by one and lost like skin on her 2 fingers.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. I do not want to be bit by one.
Yeah, I've never bothered them. They've never bothered me. I'm not ever sure how she got bit. It never made sense to me.
I have a funny spider story that scared me once.
Yeah.
So one time I was sleeping. This is back when I, just out of high school, still living in mom and dad's house, living in the basement. It's a finished basement, but it just sounds funny. I like saying it. But anyways,
I just think you say when you were living at mom and dad's house.
Yeah. What about it? Because
you just moved out of the basement into the house next door on the same property. It just makes me laugh.
Oh yeah.
Because you're still.
I'm at their. I'm in my childhood home.
It just is. It makes me laugh.
Yeah. But I was laying in the basement, watching TV on my side, and literally a foot in front of my face, a spider on a web dropped right in front of me. This happened to me more than once. Now, in the house I'm in now, I was sleeping, getting ready to sleep, laying there in bed, tossing and turning. And I rolled over and looked straight up at the ceiling, and literally right above me, descending from a web, en route to my face, was another spider coming down a web, literally, and
coming for you.
I just so happened to look up, and it was 2 feet, and I'd like rolled over and watched it drop right onto my pillow. So I don't have a fear of spiders, but those
makes you jump.
I was like, whoa.
I mean, if a spider's out of nowhere, it makes you jump.
Yeah, for sure.
Snakes are the next one.
Yeah, and I don't like snakes. I'm not a fan of snakes.
And I get it. And it's like I said, this is not everybody's. I've never been scared of snakes.
Yeah.
It was actually a problem when we were little kids.
Oh, yeah. I've heard those stories, too.
Yeah, because especially we go to Florida all the time. It's not like Ohio where you could pick up every snake.
Yeah.
I would pick up these giant black rat snakes and get lit up and not care. My whole arm would be bleeding and stuff like that.
You just didn't care?
No, and I'd be dragging them out and stuff like this, and I just didn't care. I told you the story of me hitting an alligator with a net and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So these are 2 of the big genetic fears. Most humans are genetically disposed to not like these things.
And snakes, you saw me handle a gardener snake.
Oh my gosh, the stupidest thing ever.
And first of all, you didn't tell me how bad they stink, and my hands smelled awful. Smelled like butt crack. It was awful. But I just don't like snakes because I can't. It's like when you grab onto them, to me, you probably can sense how they're going to move and stuff. It's just like their movement's unpredictable.
It's very not unpredictable.
But to me, it is. And I'm sure
snakes
it's like
are all
a lot
about
of people.
body language.
Yeah. And
they're very easy to read.
And I just, couldn't do it.
Now, here's the third one. Human-like things. Now, when you look at the first 2, you're like, everybody knows it's snakes and spiders.
Right.
And it's weird to me that anthropologists and psychologists and stuff kind of spin this third one a different way. But we'll talk about that, and we'll connect it back to the paranormal like always.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about the Uncanny Valley and what it actually is. So it's a hypothesized emotional response to a subject plotted against anthropomorphized, but there's a big fancy word for anthropomorphism.
Okay.
It's of robots and robot-like things, AI, mannequins, anything human-like.
Mm-hmm.
And this follows Marcello Mori's statements. So the Uncanny Valley is a region of negative emotional responses towards robots that seem almost humans. And we're going to use the word robots for this.
Yeah.
But it's anything human-like.
Gotcha.
So why it's called a valley is there's a chart that I will try to remember to post. But basically, it's a chart showing our emotional response to how human a thing looks. And then there's a certain point where it drops to the negative. And then it comes back up.
Wow.
So it's called a valley.
So that's the valley.
It's a valley in the graph.
Yeah, okay.
So there's stuff where we talk about humans and cartoons and robots that look, very human, very human, very human, very human, to a point to where it's disturbing, and it causes almost every person to have a gut negative response. And then after it gets human enough, it jumps back up to being a positive response.
Mm-hmm. That's spooky.
This is shown across every race of humans. That's why it's a genetic response.
Right.
All humans are the same genetic animal, different races of humans, all are the same, like subspecies, basically.
Right. Like
And
dog breeds.
Anything. Yeah. We're all the same thing.
Right.
We have, adapted to different climates and types and stuff like that. But so all humans share this. Whether you're an Inuit, an African, a European, like all humans share this.
So what happened to all humans in the past, somewhere deep in our past, that promotes this fear response?
So it's weird. So if we look at this, so humanoid robots, stuffed animals are kind of this two graphs. So you kind of look at this, where they get to about, it kind of looks at 75% human. So mostly human. It's where they go negatives. Some of the examples are corpses, zombies, AI robots like the ones you see talking and stuff like that. Even prosthetic hands. And it's weird. A prosthetic arm and a prosthetic leg are on the positive side of the scale. Prosthetic hands are on the middle of the negative.
I think that's Adam's family ruined that.
I don't know. Keep in mind, this is from, this is a really old survey, and it's been tens of thousands of people have all been a part of this.
Yeah.
So the uncanny valley is a Japanese term. It is hypothesized between the relationship between an object's degree of resemblance to a human being and emotional response to the object. The concept suggests that a humanoid object that imperfectly resembles an actual human being provokes an uncanny or strangely familiar feeling of unease and revulsion in observation. And the valley is, the denoted dip in human observation affirmed by the replica. The relationship would otherwise increase with the replica's human likeness.
Wow. So it's something that's appears human but is off just enough for you to notice that it's off.
So the valley, if you want the actual numbers, the valley drops dramatically. It goes from a really tall at 75 or 74%, looking like a human, is the highest before the dip. And then at 75%, it drops to a negative gut response. And then again at 85%, it jumps back up to a positive response.
So the more convincing it is, I guess you're more fooled.
The brain goes back to being okay.
Yeah, because it's fooled.
It's I don't know if it's fooled. I don't know if that's what's happening here directly.
Okay.
That's what some of these psychologists think, that it's fooling us back into being okay.
Right.
I think it's more that there was a very ancient thing that looked in this specific category that we have a fear of. Mm-hmm. So once we're out of that, the gut fear goes away.
Right. Makes sense.
Okay. So we're all on the same page?
Yeah.
Now everybody knows what the uncanny valley actually is. I'm going to tell you, I've heard it said thousands of times in other podcasts, and nothing against anybody, but when you don't explain what a term means, it's very confusing. I
mean, because it sounds like a actual place.
So a couple examples of this phenomena are along robotics, 3D printed animations, and lifelike dolls. This has been a rise in modern times with technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, and prosthetics. This is a weird discussion in creation in the valley, such as the controversial has enhanced the construction of Versametallica tube.
Oh gosh.
Which is meaning that a lot of these programmers they know about the valley, so they're shooting onto each side of it.
Right.
They either want it cartoony enough to where it doesn't revoke this response, or hyper realistic.
Right. You can't have
So that's all that word means.
That's pretty funny though.
Is it you as you're a programmer for augmented reality, virtual reality, or gaming design, you don't want to be in that valley.
So that's why I think the metaverse, it's like kind of cartoony-ish.
Yes, they had to do it. The first, and it made people physically sick.
Gosh,
it had such a big fear response.
Yeah,
because that's going toward what I'm going to talk about in a bit. Yeah. That there's this part of us. It's like, oh gosh, I got to get away.
That knows this. Hey, this is bad.
Mm-hmm. The uncanny valley hypothesis predicts that an entity appearing almost human risk electing cold, eerie feelings and views. And this is why a lot of people believe that the AI-ish robots now have such hatred towards them.
Yeah.
Is that they're trying, like, not them, the people that made them.
Yeah.
Tried to make them look human-ish. Mm-hmm. And it's a genetic response.
This is a sign, people.
And me and you have different opinions on AI and such, but that the appearance, the plasticky appearance of them, the eyes are really what bothers me with them, is that they give them these eyes that never look right.
Yeah.
Because we purvey a lot of emotion through our eyes and the skin around our eyes.
Well, the eyes are the portal to the soul, they say.
Mm-hmm. And humans talk with our faces.
Yes.
We do a lot with that.
And AI is just dead.
And it's not its fault, it's just the way we made it.
Right.
So robotics professor, that's the
it is
Masaru Mui. I've said his name different every time I've said it.
Muhasu, what?
Masaru Mui. Anyways, it's the guy that made the Uncanny Valley chart.
Okay.
He's an early robotics from the 1970s guy.
Oh, sweet.
And he's the first one that kind of noticed this thing when he would make robots that look too human, and people freaked out about him.
Yeah.
But if he made him like look cartoony, everybody was fine.
Oh, like Osimo. That Japanese, that first robot, that first like bipedal robot was called Osimo, ASIMO. It looks like, I mean, it doesn't look obvious. It's human-ish, but it's just very almost cartoony. That's when, remember South Park did an episode where Cartman made himself into like the robot, but it was called Awesome O, like the word awesome dash O. That's what he called himself.
I do.
It's because he actually was called Osimo.
So
So goofy.
the area of repulsive response aroused by robots and other similar things with the appearance monitored between somewhat human and fully human entities is in the Uncanny Valley, like we've already said. The name captures the idea that almost human-looking robots and other things seemingly have a strange to some human beings produce a feeling of uncanniness. This fails to invoke an empathic response that requires for us to perceive human-like robot interactions positively. You with me so far?
Yeah, I'm following along. I just have a feeling I know where this might be going, and
Oh, you probably do.
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you don't.
maybe I don't. We'll see.
I don't know.
I don't want to say it because I'll.
I may throw you for a twist.
Ooh, M. Night
So,
Shyamalan style.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories with this.
Yeah.
Why it causes this. Some I can get with. Some are just insane.
Oh.
Like anything. So the first one I have for you was mate selection.
Oh,
So we're talking genetic history.
yeah.
Basically, stimuli driving a period of uncanny stimuli erect aversions by actively an involved cognitive mechanism to avoid selection of mates with low fertility or poor hormonal health or ineffective immune systems based on the visibility of facial features and body is protected by those traits. Basically, this is saying this is a genetic throwback, just picking, not picking poorly health mates.
You want suitable mates to continue your genetics.
Yes.
Yes.
So that these things spoke the response of what maybe a sick or sickly human would look like. So it kind of averts us towards that.
Okay.
Mortality silencing. Or mortality silencing.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Is that there's a fear of death genetically imbued in humans, which is another disease thing. So these things, dead bodies are full of
I understand.
disease.
Yes.
You know, very quickly, the gut biomes and stuff like that can become very dangerous to living humans.
Yep.
So that this is a thing that is a fear response to get us to move away from dead bodies. That these human-like things look almost dead to us. You know, the no blood flow in the face and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
So that there's a genetic throwback saying, get away, this is a dead body.
Yeah. You don't need that. That's why human dead bodies stinks so much worse than any other
And
corpse.
it works for almost every animal.
Yeah.
That their own, most time, like sharks.
Yeah.
The best shark repellent is made from dead sharks.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it freaks them out.
Yeah.
Because if there's a bunch of dead sharks around, it's probably not the best place for me to be.
Exactly.
But yeah, so there's actually like shark gel that is made from dead shark.
Ooh, shark gel.
It smells awful, but
Does it? Ugh.
there's a bunch of videos of, like great white sharks like in feeding frenzy,
Yeah.
and then they release a little bit of this gel and the shark
Gone.
and then takes off.
Shark gel.
And it's made from liquefied dead sharks,
That's crazy.
humanely sourced. They say.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's right. So what do you think about that one so far? What do you think? What we got? Mate selection and mortality.
They make sense. They make sense. I'm not saying that's all
Right.
of it, but yeah, it makes sense. I'm on board.
All right. Pathogen avoidance.
Which is still following.
We're still in the same kind of vein.
Yeah.
The uncanny stimuli may activate a cognitive mechanism to originally evolve to motivate the avoidance of potential sources of pathogens. And it gets us our disgust response.
Yeah.
The more human an organism looks, the stronger aversion it detects. Basically saying that we can get diseases from human-like things.
Especially
and they
if
think
they're.
this may be back from when there's other species of humans still on the planet.
Okay.
That they could have stuff. I mean, like when white settlers came from Europe to North America, then they didn't have immune systems built for what the pathogens they brought.
Right, like the blemmies and stuff.
Like the
and the sauropod people.
No,
Not sauropod. What am I thinking? Pseudopod. Is that it?
yes. Pseudopod means just big foot.
Yes, those people.
Sauropod means large, like it's a dinosaur with a large foot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Anyways, so this is kind of the thought that these things are triggering this response in us, that we're worried about getting sick, and this could be that fear response to them.
Blemmy disease.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Storaceous paradoxes. Stimuli with humans and non-human traits underlying a sense of human identity by lurking quantitatively different categories, human and non-human, by the quantitative measure degree of human likeness. Do you understand what I just read?
You might have to repeat that. No.
I don't. I've read it 100 times. I don't understand what it means.
Let me read it, and then I'll explain it.
Stories, paradoxius.
Okay.
Stimuli with human and non-human traits underlying a sense of human identity by linking quantitative difference in different categories, human and non-human, by the quantitative meter, degree of human likeness.
Okay, so I'm assuming it's something.
It's confusing our brain because it's mixing both human and non-human into the same box, and our brain does not like it.
Yes, so it's something that's human-like, but it's got non-human qualities attached to it, and then that's what's setting off like, something's not right here. That's what I think it means.
Yes. Violation of human norms is the next leading theory for this. If the entire looks significantly non-human, its human characteristics are noticeable, generating empathy. However, if the entity looks almost human, it elects our more model of our human in other to be more detailed of the non-human parts.
Makes sense.
Basically, if you look less human, our brain has more empathy like a dog. Like we're looking at an animal.
If it looks less human but has human qualities, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like, oh, that's cute.
But this
if
looks
it looks human and has less human, our brain's better at picking out the non-human qualities.
Which has to be, something had to have happened in our past. Something for this to like just be a natural response.
This next one's a really big theory. Conflicting perspective cues. This goes everything from, this is a crazy one. I'm not going to read it all because it goes in from everything from GMOs to all this stuff. Like, it's a really hard one to follow because it starts with facial cues, and which makes sense to me that they like I said earlier, they lack the facial cues. They lack being able to mimic we talk with our faces, with our eyes, with our eyebrows, they lack that ability to fully map that. And then it goes into stuff with GMOs and cognitive dissonance and stuff. It just, whoever made this theory, I think, was high themselves.
Well, here could be the thought. See if I can follow along. Maybe in our past there was a point where humans were manipulated, genetically or whatever, or through their food or to make their, like you said, we're expressive. We talk with our face. It's natural human emotion. We talk with our bodies and stuff like that. But when you like dose people or drug people, I'm not saying that you take away those human qualities away from them and make them more robotic, so they're more obedient, workers or slaves or stuff. And maybe that's just like a response to that. It's like naturally, it's like, no, we don't want to go back to that. It happened in our past.
I'm not saying you're wrong. That's not what this theory is about.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's what I'm making. I'm making it that.
That's a whole different thing. I'm telling you, I'm not going to read it all because it doesn't make any sense to me.
That's what they meant in layman's term. I just boiled it down.
No, what you just said is more cognitive than anything this theorist ever put forward. And he's from Belgium too, so.
See, Belgium people just like to,
they don't get it.
They add bells and whistles to everything just to make themselves feel more important. Kind of like the French, but to a lesser degree.
Threats to human dissonance and identity is the next theory.
I just had to take her,
Negative reactions towards these very human-like robots can be related to the challenge of the kind of that robot leads to in our categorical human and non-human distribution. So it's very similar to the other one with like kind of our brain having problems with the box.
You get it.
My last one is for you, is religious definition of human identity.
Okay.
That whatever part of us, and this is a very cold, calculated version, that they think religion is just a part of human psyche. Like we have to have religion as a part of our psyche. I don't think so, personally, but that's what this theory is about. And that this directly fights with that part of our brain.
Okay. Well, I mean,
that's the leading theories for the Uncanny Valley.
If I can or extrapolate on that, perhaps, in my opinion, maybe. I mean, I could see religion being like especially having that part within us. I don't know if it's just to explain the unexplainable or just that the way the world works that we don't really understand, like those, the spiritual realms, the different things, and religion kind of does a really good job of explaining those things.
So what this theory is, the science, this part is saying that we have completely made up religion it's a fundamental part of our brain.
Okay.
It's not real, but it's just what something humans do. And this directly violates that part of our brain. There's somewhere in our brain, and that's just not what I believe. This is what this theory is stating.
Yeah.
That there's a small node of our brain that creates all religion. And that it's fighting with that part.
Isn't that kind of contradictory?
Sure.
Well, here's a part of our brain that's just there, and it's always there, and it always creates this, always has. But that thing's not real. Our brains were just born with it, and have always, created that. Oh.
I'm not saying I don't like this theory. I don't like any of them, really. Like, I don't like a lot of these.
Yeah.
All right. So, like I promised everybody, let's get back to some paranormal, because I directly think this relates to the paranormal.
Yes, I agree. 100%.
Now, I'll give you one Hail Mary pass. What do you think I'm about to connect this to?
Well, you're going to connect this to human-like entities from other dimensions that have affected humanity in the past. And now we have our defenses up to defend against them.
Nope.
Dang it. All right.
Vampires.
Vampires? I mean, it's close.
Now, I'm using
basically
vampires.
what I said.
This not just vampires, but I'm using that kind of a thing of a predator that looks vaguely human, but is a predator of humans.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about Neil Blomkamp. He was on Joe Rogan, but he does like a bunch of movies and stuff like that. So this is directly his idea with another author.
Okay.
So, and it sparked me. I've heard this years ago, and it's always stuck with me for the Uncanny Valley. So I'm going to kind of give you my breakdown of his theory.
Okay.
Or not even his theory. It's his idea for a book that he thinks could be real.
Okay.
So this is a predator-prey relationship between this ancient human offshoot. So it is like, we talked about all these ancient humans, everything from Denisovans being 8 foot tall to the pygmy people, like the actual 3 foot tall Sumatran pygmies.
Right, yeah.
So there's tons and tons of humans. And the cool thing is, connecting this back to biology, that when we have specification of one major group, almost all the time, an animal will emerge that is a predator of the rest of the group from within itself.
Okay.
It happens from fish to mammals to reptiles. It's happened the whole gambit of life multiple times throughout history, to where it's called species radiation, where one species takes a ton of niches. So whether like the Denisovans taking the cold north and fighting, they're big enough to where cave bears weren't that big a deal.
Right.
A 9 foot tall human that's built not like a genetically a Homo sapien that gets 9 foot tall is normally very unhealthy because their hearts don't change size.
Right.
These Denisovans were built to be that big. So very formidable creatures. To the Sumatran pygmies that evolved to fit their rainforest needs, lower food, not able to farm. So they have to have smaller bodies to, save this stuff.
Right.
So when we see this happen with other species in history, whether it's a fish, reptile, or mammal, a lot of times, even a synapsids, it happened.
Ooh.
It did. One of the poisonous reptile mammals came from this. That a group within itself will emerge to hunt the rest of the group.
So it's kind of like, never mind, bad example. I'm not going to even go there. Keep going.
So that's what this theory is getting at. That a long, long time ago when humans started speciating, the evolutionary radius, that a member stepped off very early. And they may look like us a lot, they may not, and they started preying upon the other groups.
So it's kind of like public schools. You get a bunch of humans packed into one little space. Pretty much everyone's going to homogenize, everyone fills their niches, their cliques, but you're always going to have that one offshoot, not bully, but like the one person that's going to prey on the other students. Yeah, the bully.
Okay.
He fills that niche.
So this is an ancient step off of humans somewhere. And they could be really ancient to where they don't look very human, these more bestial creatures. Or they could be still evolved to be very human-like.
To blend in.
Like we've talked about maybe with Bigfoot, is an actual human step off that happens to look very apish.
Right.
They're actually a member of the Homo branch somewhere.
But to fill that niche
living... They got hairy, They went back to being hairy to stay warm,
Mm-hmm. Got big and strong to survive out there.
With this evolutionary radiation, another thing also occurs. So, like I said, it happens in fish, reptiles, mammals. It's happened the whole gambit of life.
Oh, boy.
The species that normally preys upon the other becomes hyper intelligent compared to the rest of the group.
Okay.
Not saying the rest of the group is not intelligent.
Right.
But almost every time the predator is much more intelligent than the prey source.
Makes sense.
So we look at these vampires of history. They're often hyper intelligent. They're often, knowing a ton more. They're almost godlike to humans because they know so much more, and they normally have super speed, super strength. It's called hyperevolution, and it's because they are co-competing with direct ancestors or direct relations. They evolve much quicker rates.
Wow.
So this has happened in nature.
Yeah.
So I'm using my vampires. I'm not saying it's vampires, but I'm using vampires as an example
yeah.
of these creatures.
Makes sense. It's a good way to picture it in your mind.
So this has happened. This hyperevolution has happened with predator and prey since the beginning of time, a specifically relationship to related individuals, as in the same family order.
Okay.
If you want to look at it as a more primate, bonobos directly evolved to hunt all the other, not apes, but all the other monkeys in the area.
Mm-hmm.
A distant ancestor that's pretty much the only meat they eat is other primates.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
because they love doing it.
Screw that.
And they'll run them into, you watch bonobos hunt sugar babies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they do it so effectively. And the sugar babies don't even realize that they're babies.
They're being hunted.
They're being hunted and ran into a certain point.
Right, yeah. Whew.
Yeah. So if we apply that same thing to us, an ancient human step off. Now, if this was happening, wouldn't they overtake us?
There's probably not as many.
So I'm glad you pointed that out. So almost always in nature, it has its own governing system, to where predators often have tons and tons and tons less offspring than the prey sources.
Yeah.
For example, lions, most of their big prey animals outnumber them about 2,000 to one animal.
Okay.
So for every 2,000 prey animals, there's one lion.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's accessible prey. Not there's 2,000 animals, period.
Right.
Accessible prey items.
For the lion.
You look at mountain lions, it's even a greater number. Sometimes 4,000 or 5,000 animals for one.
Yeah.
So if this is a human predator, it probably has a further step off point. Now, in his theory, he puts it that these things hibernate, or they do some form of stasis, to where they'll hyperfixate an area and feed and feed and feed and reproduce, and then they'll go to sleep or they'll go into stasis for decades or centuries at a time.
Like Dracula's laying in the coffin. Just like that.
It's very similar. Now, when we look at this, we have tons of these old stories, and I'll get into them here in a little bit, of vampires or vampire-like creatures wiping out entire villages and not being seen again for decades or centuries.
Just gone.
And it's probably because it's feeding strategy to get the prey to forget about you.
Yeah, makes sense.
And whether they move around and stuff like that. So we talked about it with I just forgot the giant crocodile from Africa that's killing everybody.
Oh, what's his name?
It's like a drug dealer's name.
Yeah, I can't remember now. Not Carlos.
Is it Carlos?
It might be.
Anyways, the giant crocodile that's killing everybody. That's what he does.
Yeah.
He's a crocodile. Keep in mind, he's a reptile.
And then
he'll move around. He keeps moving around so the villagers don't get too used to him.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be what's happening here, or it could be the actual hibernation process. From early days when humans weren't numbering so high that you eat a village and then you go back into sleep until the village repopulates. In a couple centuries or a couple decades or a century. What do you think so far?
Out of all the animals, the most and we both agree, the most dangerous thing on earth, creature, is human being. So having a hyper intelligent, predatory human being that's probably got supernatural strength, speed.
Supernatural to us.
To us, yes. Yes.
I mean, a Denisovan, to be fair, would have supernatural strength
sure.
to us.
Even like Cro-Magnon man would too, I'm sure.
Level us.
Yeah.
A Neanderthal would level you.
Yeah. Just squish you. I mean, that's because we're soft and we live in comfort and convenience now.
I mean, if you go back to Homo sapien a couple thousand years ago,
sure,
we're not the toughest animals out there.
We are resilient.
We have a resilience and endurance.
Yes.
But a fist fight, there's not a lot we're winning.
We can only take so much.
I mean, an ostrich is very capable of killing a human.
Unless there's one man, Rex, well, he's dead now, but Rex or Randall Tex Cobb could have taken a few punches from a Denisovan and been fine.
I don't know a Denisovan. Maybe a Neanderthal. I don't know if a Denisovan.
Oh, he could have.
That's like Andre.
He had an iron chin.
Okay.
Tex Cobb, yes.
So a part of his theory, so continuing with Neil's theory, is that it's weird. So vampires are pretty much in every culture. They're variations of the legends, but they are in pretty much every culture, whether you're an Inuit or, a native African, like we've talked about, and everywhere in between. They have a vampire-like thing, a human-like predator.
Yeah.
It's very common in archaeology and, the studies of humans. We have it everywhere. And is it a fear we put upon it, or is it just because they've been hunting us so long that we keep seeing them?
It's just in the recesses of our minds.
Now, a lot of these vampire-like creatures from around the world have aversions to religious symbols or have problems entering houses and stuff like that. So Neil's theory is that there are no straight lines in nature, or there very, very rarely there are. So these hyper-intelligent beings have problems because they move so fast through the nature. They move so fast through the woods and stuff.
Yeah.
They have to do, basically they're doing calculations. They're moving, of how they move to not run into stuff and not destroy their own bodies. That these straight angles, these 90-degree angles, mess with their calculations and they avoid them.
Interesting.
And they have aversions to crosses because it's all 90-degree angles.
Right, yeah.
And that it messes with some part of their brain it messes with.
Huh.
Now, that sounds kind of goofy, right?
Kind of, but we have that.
There are all types of animals
Yeah.
have weird one-off things.
Right.
Like elephants are actually scared of mice,
Right, yeah.
and we don't know why. We have no idea why. But it's something in their brain that clicks on, like, whoa.
Like,
And keep in mind, they're not scared of small animals.
right.
They're specifically scared of mice. So this exists in nature, to whether it's a natural aversion, then these creatures will most likely be nocturnal, feeding at night and stuff like that. And you don't see vampires during the day. A lot of this is they look human enough until you really look at them.
Then that's when
You start seeing these giant teeth, and you start seeing
that's the uncanny
yeah.
valley part.
So I have it listed as Wendigos, skinwalkers, vampires, and many, many more legends could fall into this category of actually all being one thing
Right.
that is hunting us and is so on the fringe of culture.
And I like, how, it comes in, let's just say it comes in waves, to where we kind of forget. We might be in one of those waves or lulls where just these things, they're there, but they're not like part of everyday life.
Keep in mind if they're hyper intelligent and you're feeding on people.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Missing 4-1 here in a bit.
Oh, just staying in the shadows.
They could be among us too. So a lot of these stories from these vampire-like creatures from around the world. Did you hear that?
Man, it sounded like the wind or something like spooky, like whoo.
I hope it's not my kid. That'd be pretty loud for him.
Yeah, I don't think it was him. And I think it came from outside, so
Okay.
I really hope it's not him.
Yeah, that was weird. Anyways.
Open the window, he's outside floating.
Well, Halloween's over.
Yeah, or close the curtains back up. You can stay outside now.
Where was I going? What was I saying? No, so these creatures could be among us because they look enough like us we talk about all these stories of the smiling men, all these Men in Black-ish stories, these creatures that look human until you get close enough and you're like, oh.
The imposter.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the game.
So what do you think about that?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense only because was that in this episode we kind of talked about like
that's Patreon.
Okay. Like
so Patreon this week, everybody, is directly connected to this episode.
That's correct. It's kind of a deeper dive into police
the police actually fighting these things.
And actual police reports involved with redacted information and all that stuff. But we know these things exist just from us being in this field. We know, to the everyday person, they're not going to believe in this stuff, and we don't fault them for believing that until you had your own experience. That'll make you a believer. But I mean, there's people that are open to it without having an experience. But 9 times out of 10, people aren't going to be like, yeah, okay, this stuff's all real, until they have an actual experience themselves to convince them otherwise. So this kind of these things we know they're out there. We do. So it makes sense. It makes sense. All this kind of falls into place with it.
Now there's another thing. Maybe so I think that this could have evolved alongside of us and directly evolved with humans.
Yeah.
And there's also another thing that this could be caused by a disease that evolves us. Now, is there such a thing as a disease that evolves its host?
I think so.
Do you know of any?
Let me think here. There's got to be one.
Well, I'll just save you the trouble.
All right.
They're called virophages, which we're going to do a whole episode on eventually.
Ooh.
But the quick and the short of the virophage is they're supersized viruses, but they have unique anatomy and biology. So these viruses hold old host DNA, and they incorporate it into their new host DNA. So a virus, when it infects a cell, it takes the DNA out and replaces it with its RNA, and lets the host cell make a bunch more of itself.
Okay.
And then the host cell bursts and more viruses come out. Virophages do this, plus they give the host cell new beneficial DNA from other hosts. And when the cell bursts, not only does it create more virophages, it also creates a new host cell to replace the old one.
Oh.
So it's like natural CRISPR.
Yeah.
But they have shown success in that we haven't documented this in humans, but they have shown success with not only carrying from different species, but completely unrelated species.
Wow.
Like
just crossing the
like
lines.
fish
completely.
to amphibians, and amphibians to reptiles, reptiles to mammals, and so on and so forth.
Which normally does
we
not
can't
happen.
do.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't do with our current genetic understanding. It's almost impossible to do that kind of stuff. And we can kind of do it, but it's much more. It's like, needing a tiny screwdriver and using a hammer. We can kind of do it, but it's more like it's just blasting a hole in it and hoping it works.
Right. Yeah.
These guys do it on the. They're smaller than the DNA they're working with, so they're taking it out by hand and replacing bits and sewing it all together. So what if there's this virophage?
Well, who invented virophages?
That's save it for the virophage episode.
Oh, okay.
So what if there's these virophages that, like Wendigoism, where these people start craving human flesh because they're in the middle of transforming
Yeah.
to this thing, and they calm down probably after the transfer. It's just getting there,
Right. Yeah.
and it's recluses in these people. What
kinda
if
like-
it's a virophage that's changing them into our natural predator?
It's like in the movie Teen Wolf when he's transforming into the wolf and he's like freaking out and going crazy, but once he's the wolf, he's cool.
Calm down.
Yeah.
So what if it's something like that? So I think either one is possible. I personally believe it is something evolved with us, that's a member of us.
Yeah.
And you talk about people having babies with vampires and all this stuff, probably because they're genetically probably close enough to us.
Right.
They can still do this.
Interesting.
Ready for some vampire attacks?
Vampire attacks?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really vampires or are you just slumping that
What?
in with like.
No, like they're classified as vampire attacks
Okay.
from history and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
That they're said, whether they're a vampire or not, anybody could, I'm not a
Argue.
historian,
Right. Yeah.
but they're classified as vampire attacks. So we're going to go to Bulgaria.
Ooh.
The Arui vampire massive killings.
Okay.
It's DEKEKUOI.
Yeah. No thanks.
You laugh at me when I try to pronounce these things, and then
It's just funny. Like, I don't know. It's funny.
Dikaru.
There we go.
Uh,
Google that.
Vampires are said to have started out a ghostly-like creature before they could physically rise from their graves. In the early stages, the vampires could only be seen as faintly by the human eyes. During the night, however, their form started becoming more and more physical, and they even especially noticeably started sparking. So you remember Twilight had like sparkly vampires?
Yes.
That's actually a part of folklore in Europe.
Oh, goodness.
And it was sparks, not
Okay.
sparkles.
Yeah, I know. They had to make it so, like, I don't know.
So in 1863, the vampire of this town, I will not say the name again, was reportedly plagued by a mob of young, sparkling vampires.
Ooh.
Sparking.
Yeah.
The vampires attacked villagers, screamed outside homes, and threw cow poop at pictures of saints. Although the vampires had not taken any physical form, they could still be seen sparking through the streets. Eventually, an old witch fought with them and cast them out.
Oh, wow.
Hundreds of people died in these attacks.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. And, I mean, this might
1863 is not that long ago,
be...
people.
No, but it kind of...
You hear the word 18, you're like, oh, that's, hundreds of years ago. And you're like, 100.
Is it vampires or one of those electromagnetic field creatures?
Yes.
Indeed.
The Vampire of Blue. And that's BAUA or BLUA.
BLUA?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 14th century. A shepherd named Marshallite died in the village of Blue in her town. After his death, Marlette became a vampire and is said to began terrorizing the village every night. Amazingly, he could kill a person by only calling out their name, which caused the person to die within 8 days.
That's pretty powerful. So if you ever hear your name randomly called...
A peasant tried to push a stake through his heart. He mocked them and said the stake would only ward off a dog. After the attempt failed, the professional exorcist was tasked with getting rid of him. The exorcist and his attendees moved the vampire out of the village. They screamed and flung his limbs the whole way out.
Oh.
So like throwing his arms around.
Yeah. Oh, so they got rid of him.
Yeah.
You know how to get rid of vampires, right? wood chipper.
There you go.
The only proven tactic.
So the wool Schäferger vampire.
Oh gosh.
It's a German vampire
Okay.
who is said to prefer their own family members as victims. In one of the most infamous cases in the 18th century, several members of notable Worcestershire family inexplicably died after the vampire's death of a male relative. The family feared that the older man was responsible, so they sent sent Joseph, an accused vampire's nephew, to take care of him. Basically, they're like, "It's your uncle. Go fight him."
You deal with it.
Armed with an axe and accompanied by a monk with a candle, Joseph ventured into the family crypt in the modern day Jakobshof, Germany. Preston's going to know exactly where all these are.
Yeah, probably.
Although the monk ran away, Joseph was not afraid. He decapitated his uncle's body without a second thought. The young man took the vampire's blood as a souvenir. He was said to have a headless vampire still roaming the family's crypt to this day.
Well, at least it can't bite people.
So it's weird. You know, all these vampires are part of really powerful families.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like with these old stories, the vampire doesn't, like, everybody's like, oh no, George just became a vampire. Let's say they are hyper-evolved super predators. I think they move in to one of these opportunities in life. They take over somebody's life.
Okay.
I think whether they're spiritual or physical, I'm kind of lean towards the physical. They're like,
Might be both at that point. If you're talking about switching, like,
not switching places. Like they kill the guy
and then take it
and then take a spot. Like, because he got, especially in this time, most of these royals aren't seen
right
by most of the population. So they don't know what they look like. Even their families, their distant families, don't really know what they look like anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just like, I'm Count Olaf.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like,
I'm Vlad the Impaler.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Is that one coming?
No, I just have a couple.
He's too famous.
I picked the ones with the weirdest names.
He's
The
clearly.
vampire's a Buckinghamshire.
Oh, okay. Buckinghamshire.
Buckinghamshire. That's like, you just gotta say it all as like one syllable.
Exactly. That's what they do anyways.
Buckinghamshire. Another interesting story that is passed down from the William of Newbrought concerning a vampire of Buckinghamshire, England. The vampire visited his wife the day after he was buried and tried to kill her in bed. The vampire came back on 2 more nights until he was chased away by some woman's neighbors. After the incident, he began to attack other villagers, even assaulting groups of people during the daytime.
Wow.
Bishop Hugh of Lincoln was asked to remove the monster. The bishop's colleagues recommended that the vampire's body be cremated, but Hugh considered the idea to be sacrilegious. Instead, he wrote the letter pardoning the vampire of all of his sins. And this letter was then put on the vampire's chest. Surprisingly, the letter worked. The vampire was never seen again.
Mm. Interesting.
What do you think so far?
I mean, are vampires actually real? Yeah, probably.
I think yes and no.
I think there's a cartoony version that
Yes,
we have in
I
our
don't think
head.
they're bloodsuckers. I don't think
You
that.
don't think so?
No, I think they're predators. I think they eat people.
Yeah.
I don't think they're just after the blood. I think they're an evolved human ancestor.
I wonder if like the blood sucking thing is more symbolic than
It could be.
like it's sealing
I
your life
think it
force.
could be associated. Let's say these aren't demons; that these are physical creatures that evolved alongside us.
Yeah.
I think that it's more that the Christians and religions at the time put the blood sucking thing as part of a demonic thing, and that vampires may not be demonic; they may just be our predators that
Yeah.
evolved alongside us.
But it could also, and too, with the, the physical realm and the spiritual realm, really play hand in hand with each other. It might just be a being that's tapped into.
And I think
Both.
a hyper evolved animal
Could be.
could be.
And
I think that's one of the options that could evolve in. I don't think that these guys did.
Yeah.
That is an option though.
Oh, okay,
Personally, I'm just
gotcha.
saying.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anything is possible.
That's true.
Uh,
Couldn't have said it better myself.
so that's just a couple vampire stories. And
Yeah.
since we're on the Halloween, I wanted to include a vampire.
Right. Yeah.
But let's get back to an ancient predator that's hunting people.
Okay. Back to the Uncanny Valley explanations.
So, if there is an ancient predator that's human-like hunting people, wouldn't there be a pile of bodies? Like, if there's predators hunting us, because we've gotten rid of most of our other predators,
Yeah.
if these things are still around, wouldn't they be still eating people if that's what they evolved to eat?
Sure. Yeah.
So where's all the bodies?
They ate them.
I mean, where's all the people?
What do you mean?
Wouldn't you, if you're missing your uncle because he got eaten by a vampire, wouldn't somebody talk about that?
I mean, I wouldn't if I know we got ate by a vampire. I'm not bringing that energy back. Sorry, Uncle Dave, but you're gone.
So where's all the missing people? Wouldn't there be a big number of missing people if this was happening?
There is.
There is.
Yeah, it happens.
600,000 people go missing a year in the U.S.
Just in the U.S. Over half a
I
million.
want to say that number again. I think this gets overlooked a lot. 600,000 people. Obviously, the number one state's Alaska.
Yeah.
Ohio's like number 7.
What's the biggest place in Ohio that's like people go missing? Are we allowed to say?
Columbus.
What?
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Anyways, so 600,000 missing people a year, and a lot of them are explainable, but a lot of them aren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So in the U.S., it's roughly 6.5 missing people for every 100,000.
Wow.
We have millions and millions and millions of people.
Yeah, I know. No, we have billions. Oh, no,
I'm talking the U.S. I think we have 1.3 billion in the U.S.
I just wanted to say billions and billions, like Carl Sagan.
So let's exclude the missing 411 phenomena with national and state forests.
Okay.
Let's just exclude that because that can be everything from falling off a cliff to falling in a mine shaft to being eaten by a bear. To what we think. Is I think the missing 411 phenomena is a great hodgepodge, and this could be a small part of it.
Yeah.
I don't think all the missing 411 people are being eaten by ancient human
vampires.
relatives, but I do think some of them are.
Yeah. Woods are a weird place.
But let's exclude that.
Okay.
There's still hundreds of thousands of missing people a year that disappear inside cities without a trace.
Like our Patreon episode coming up. Yeah.
Exactly. Inside city limits.
Yeah.
They just disappear. So in cities, most of these unsolved missing people cases are almost always around sewer openings, small woods, drainage systems, dark alleys, and abandoned buildings. And you're like, no dip, Justin. Of course, people go missing in alleys in cities.
Right, yeah. But you know what this just made me think of, though? Maybe soft disclosure. In the movie Stephen King's It, where's all the places the clown's initially hiding? Oh, did I steal that?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Was it on it? Yeah. On your list?
Go ahead.
He's hiding in the sewers. He's hiding right on the edge of the woods. He's all of these places you're saying.
Modern humans have an aversion to the sewer system. And it may be because it's, it's stinky or whatever. But the water storage system does not have fecal matter in it. Like the one in the middle of the street does not have fecal matter.
Right.
It's just a drainage system to go to the creek.
Mm-hmm.
We're scared of them. We have it's becoming a new genetic fear. Why? Because my thought is these modern predators are moving into these systems to feast on us.
It's a perfect place to hide.
So there's a missing person in Columbus, Ohio, that had his tracker on him. And his last location is this little swamp downtown Columbus that opens up into the sewer system underneath.
And then it just ended there.
He went underground is what most people believe is his body ended up underground somehow. And it couldn't track him anymore. No signal.
Jeez.
That is a story that's unfolded 1,000 times over here in the U.S.
Wow.
Whether it's out west or whatever, these sewer systems seem to be the new home of whatever is hunting us.
Yeah. Man. Okay, let's firebomb every sewer system.
Now, you remember that video that came out a couple years back of what appears to be a humanoid thing that is seen by the sewer cam.
Poking around the corner. Mm-hmm. Yep. Couple
now,
times.
That video is 100% real, as in that it is non-edited. It is a real thing being filmed.
Yes.
Whether you want to believe it's a raccoon or a vampire, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So I think that these things have moved into modern day. They're feeding on us still.
Yeah.
But in cities, in national forest, but in cities specifically, we're expected for people to go missing. Murders and stuff like that.
Lots of people.
Easier to go unnoticed.
Yep.
So these abandoned buildings, these storm drainage systems, these small woods, these alleys.
And if you're intelligent enough to know, like, okay, I know when to come out. I know when I can be detected. I
think they're still living among us, and these are their feeding grounds.
Okay, so you think
that they're moving into these areas to eat,
just to eat,
and not be found.
Yeah. That's where the bones are.
I'm not joking.
I believe you.
It's that I still think that he could be living among us, or they could even be acting like they're homeless or whatever, and you don't look at them until you realize that there's something weird off of them.
Yeah. And
think about all these weird, like we talked about the smiling man on Patreon this week.
Yep.
The grinning man, how much human they look like, but how well dressed they are.
Yeah.
They're almost the aristocrats.
That's because they're stealing all the people's clothes they're eating.
That, or they are the aristocrats. They're these giant, rich, famous people, or not even famous, these giant, rich, powerhouse people that have been stealing wealth from humans forever.
Like
They've
the
accrued.
Vanderbilts?
It could be any of them.
Okay.
And they come out to hunt because it's a part of their nature. And we see that with other animals that, like lions, don't want to be fed. They want to hunt. Jurassic Park,
Right,
the T-Rex, don't want to be fed. It wants to hunt.
Exactly. It's your natural.
It's a part
natural.
of it.
Yeah.
Dogs even still have it where they want it to hunt.
Yep. Oh, our chow loves it.
What do you think?
It makes sense. It adds up. It's but it's
I think vampires and the Smiling Man could be the same thing.
same phenomena.
Yeah. And I'm talking very basic vampire, not like all the vampires.
No, yeah, not Dracula dead and loving it vampire.
Yeah.
Although if he was real, I'd have a beer with him. He's cool. He's a cool vampire. You've seen that movie, right?
Mm-mm.
Dracula dead. And Leslie Nielsen plays Dracula.
Mm-mm.
You know who he is, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's great. It's funny.
So, vampires have an aversion. Like, there's all these stories from around the world of vampires, like, not wanting to cross water, not going in water, and stuff like this.
Okay.
If they are moving at hyper fast speeds and they have much more high dense muscle, they'd have higher density bones. They might not be able to swim.
Sink.
Yeah.
Or maybe water. It's hard for them to move through.
It could be. It could be any of it.
And then they drown.
So, what do you think's happening with all this? And that may not be vampire, but this whole phenomenon of the Uncanny Valley. I have my options for you, but I'm going to give you first crack at it.
I just think it's there was something in our past, or currently still, obviously, but it just imitated human beings enough, but was not a friend of humanity. Obviously, was a killer of humanity, and within our DNA or within our just recesses of our mind, we know, like, we got to still be aware of this. We still got to have our defenses up. And, we got so much stuff going on nowadays that we're distracted by that can, prevent us from being aware of these things anymore. But still, deep down within, it's a feeling that just will never go away because it's probably placed within us by our ancestors to make sure whatever happened in the past doesn't recreate itself or happen again. That's my thought.
Okay. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
Let's talk about what that thing is.
Yeah, what is that thing?
So my first option for you, and I want your percentages as always. A human offshoot. This is my big push. My theory is that it's an ancient human offstep that evolved with us to hunt us. I still think they're out there. I think more people have seen them than they realize.
Right. Yeah.
They look enough like us from a distance that nobody you're ever concerned about.
And if you're not paying attention closely, you're not going to notice.
So what do you think about this?
That could be 55%. I'm gonna give it over 50.
Okay. A demon. So these are actually demons that are filling this role, this niche.
Yeah.
Not a human. And they're mimicking us to hunt us, whether it's torture, whatever. What do you think?
Now, I can believe this, yes. Now, what if also, to combine a couple ideas, what if human beings are summoning these demons or using the demons to collect, whatever they are, the human beings basically, and to feast on them
for this Uncanny Valley?
Yeah, you're using demons, and that's what's scary to us. It's holy crap, we know this looks like us, but I can clearly see it's not just enough, and that might be the demonic qualities of a demon that just are its marker, can't get away from it. So yeah, I could fall on this one too. Demons, can't rule out demons ever. 52%.
Just humans killing humans.
Oh, well, that's always happening. But we've heard enough stories where some of these things are not just humans.
No, I'm talking about Uncanny Valley, the genetic fear.
Just of other.
So this is from, especially this, the main theory with this one is from different races.
Yeah.
So this fear of new races coming into your territory, and most of the time, it's not good for one or the other.
And I can see that because it still, unfortunately, still does play a role today.
But this may not be humans killing humans on purpose. This could be disease. This could be all that other stuff we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, even let's say, back in the past, even now, you live generations with just people that look just like you, and someone new comes in that clearly looks completely different. I can see that being a fear if it ever happened in the past where someone different came in and, hurt, killed, or did something.
It happened a lot.
Yeah.
Most archaeologists believe humans got down whether it was disease or something like that, to a very low number at one point.
Yeah. So it makes sense.
Or predators.
What?
Or predators.
Predators?
That's why they got down to a low number. And the predators were like, whoa, we better settle out.
Oh, gotcha. We need some...
long pig.
Yeah, we need... Huh?
Long pig.
Long pig? That's what humans are.
Called.
Yeah. Some people think that.
No, I mean, I've literally watched the interview with the cannibal, and that's what he describes it as.
Well, some people think pigs are genetic, like human beings that were cursed and turned into...
I don't think so.
Ungulates.
Even or odd toad?
Huh?
Even or odd toad?
Even.
You got lucky.
I knew that answer.
All right. Here's one for you that we kind of really didn't discuss, but it just was something that stuck in my head. Another animal that perfectly evolved to hunt us, and they just happen to converge in evolution. They kind of look like us. Whether it's another primate or maybe even something more ancient than that.
Yeah. I'm not putting this one as high on the list, but I'll give that one a 10%er. It's possible.
This is just one I had to throw in there because I've seen somebody else throw it.
And the one you're about to say? Okay.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, huh?
That we just have this here, like Denisovans and Bigfoot and stuff like this, these giant races that look humanish. I mean, from all of our eyewitnesses and accounts, whether a Bigfoot is a human or not a human, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But they look human enough, and there used to be some genetic art. There used to be some where either they were eating us or we were fighting them a lot. And same with the Denisovans. We know that Denisovans killed other human races.
Yeah.
We know that. They did that. So is that genetic fear that's coming from? Is it these things, Bigfoot and other human-like things? Whether they're human or not is a whole different question.
Right. It's just
they
human-like.
look like a human in the face.
Big bipedal things that look like us in the face, yeah.
So we're genetically scared.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Very well could be. I'm up with that. I have 22%.
My last one for you is interdimensional things like the Men in Black. To where that we think that these Men in Black are from a different dimension. They are a part of the phenomena. They are not causing the phenomena. And they can look, whether they're doing it on purpose or that's just how they look. They look human-ish until you really look at them and then you start seeing that, they're not humans.
Right.
Same with the smiling men, which I think are the same phenomena as what we're talking about today, that they're human predators. So what if that's the same thing, that they're interdimensional creatures that have to be able to either personify as human,
right,
or they kind of look human enough to pass until you were like, oh, it's got giant teeth.
And that could be like kind of fall under shape-shifting interdimensional beings like reptilians or something that they can put on the face to fool you. But if you the more you focus on them,
exactly,
you peer through the veil and your senses are like, nope, run, fight or flight.
So what do you think?
I like that one.
I think personally, I want you to give me your top two in a second. I'm personally between interdimensional creatures and the human offshoot. So I'm weird because I'm either it's fully paranormal or it's probably fully physical.
Yeah. But you might be, it could be just
both.
a combination of both.
It could be both too.
Which we know both exist. We know both realms exist.
Yeah.
And they both affect this world. Man. I'm the interdimensional for sure. I'm mostly on that one.
You're thinking that one?
Yeah, I just think that one might
be. I'm mostly physical, the human offshoot that just evolved to eat other humans. Because to me, it's happened so many times in other species.
Yeah.
From, like I said, fish, amphibians, mammals. Synapsids was the famous one that... oh gosh, I just forgot the creatures they were called. You have them in Ark, the little tiny burrowers that have little tiny horns.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know what they're called. You're the animal guy.
I just forgot his name. Listosaurids.
There we go.
So they're mammal reptile ancestors. During their mass extinction event, they were 80 or what was it? It was 60% of all animals that were left on the planet were only Listosaurus. So,
wow.
Because they survived. They were the ones that could survive. Immediately after that mass extinction, Listosaurus became every niche. They became the giant herbivores, they became burrowers, and they even became their own predators.
Wow.
So that's happened. That's the best example you can point. And it happened really fast.
Okay.
Because they were all open niches.
Yeah.
It's species radiation.
Someone's got to take advantage of it.
And it can all be the same species.
Right, yeah.
And what happens is, whatever becomes a predator leads the race.
Right, yeah.
And pushes the rest to evolve even faster. And then once the niches are filled, the species radiation stops, and biologists really can't explain why that happens. We've observed it.
Well, I mean, maybe with the physical thing, we know humans are already like, hyper aggressive when it comes to, especially if the ones that are like need to be above the rest, need to rule everything. It's probably them. It's probably them. These royal bloodline lizard families. It's probably them. Whether it's they're psychically projecting demons to kidnap people and murder them, or they can just do it themselves because they're on, I don't know, some sort of genetic drug that they've been taking for years and stealing from other human beings. I don't know.
See,
they're hyper predators.
I'm not even saying that the elite aren't eating people.
Yeah.
But they're not the ones running down people and pulling them into the sewers.
No, but
that's what I'm talking about.
It might be like their pets or like their I don't know, their spawn. It could be their spawn.
I doubt it. There is I
don't know. Have you
an
seen
SCP about that? There literally is an SCP about these blue bloods living in the sewers eating people. It just hit me.
I mean,
it's called the Aristocrats. That's what the name of it.
Look at Prince Andrew. I could see him living in sewers.
Don't name people on this. We're the public episode.
He deserves it. He deserves it. There's enough physical public evidence.
You're interdimensional, and I'm human offshoot.
Yeah, I think
I think that's fair. I think it's fair. I don't think one is more likely than the other. It's just personal preference at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I hope everybody at home enjoyed the Uncanny Valley and kind of understanding what it actually means.
Makes more sense to me now.
Yeah, because I can't tell you how many people thought it was a place.
I did at first when we first brought it up.
But I mean, there's good reason. It just without any explanation, it's just like
it's a place within our minds. It's a place within our DNA.
All right, I've been the great and powerful Mr. E,
and I've been J Clone 27.
Is that what you said at the beginning?
Yep.
Did we sub out one?
Nope. This is me.
Okay. All right, guys. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Crypts of the Corn podcast.
Please share with a friend you think would like us. It's the best way to help our show grow.
Leave a comment, rate us, a 5-star review, and remember, there is always extra content on Patreon/cryptodsofthecorn.com.
And don't forget, stay magical.